Life is all about relationships. Lovers, family, body, or money. How satisfied you are can be completely explained by how you relate to things around you. This is Sophie Jaffe, and together with my husband, Dr. Adi Jaffe, we are here to explore and teach you how to maximize your relationships and achieve a happier life. Let's get ignited. This episode of Ignited is brought to you by Four Sigmatic.
These guys make some of the coolest mushroom-based powders on earth. No, not those mushrooms. These are those medicinal and holistic wellness powders.
They make a few different ones, and I've loved using them for a few years now.
Yeah, you've been using them for longer than I have.
Absolutely. I first found out about Four Sigmatic years ago. They work in such beautiful synergy with my philosophy products.
Yeah, they're really great. They have packets of just single mushrooms like lion's mane mushroom.
I love lion's mane. I use it every single day.
But did you know that Buddhist monks use it to help during meditation?
I mean, it makes sense. No wonder I'm attracted to it.
There you go. They also have ones with coffee in them, and they use pure Arabica beans, so that's the good stuff. And they even have packets with cacao, and you know that because I love making the super powdered hot chocolate.
Yeah, I love bringing these in travel. They make life so much easier. When we were in Israel, I use them every single day because they're so easy to use. We use them all together. Again, I use them in travel, and also in the mornings, I like to mix a really yummy, supercharged coffee with Four Sigmatic and philosophy. We make it almost every single morning, and if you want to grab that recipe, you can check it out in the link in our show notes.
Seriously, if you want to superpower your life with these magic mushrooms from our friends at Four Sigmatic, just head over to foursigmatic.com/ignited, that's IGNTD, and use the code IGNITED at checkout, and you'll receive 15% off of your entire purchase.
Such a good discount.
Yeah, and the offer is awesome, the product is awesome, and you should head over there right now.
Thanks, guys.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Ignited podcast. I'm Adi Jaffe. And unfortunately, my better half is not here with us today. Sophie is suffering on vacation in Mexico. And instead of skipping a week, I figured I would just jump on here real quick and introduce an episode to you that follows, again, Lacy and Darrell, as you remember, one of the couples that we're following along with. We haven't updated you on them in months. And so we have a new session. I did the session myself with them, but, you know, I love that we're following with two different couples because their journeys are different. And you just recently heard an episode of updating one of the other couples that we work with. And, you know, I think this will be really, really good to see how two different couples struggling with different issues over a different time frame have their own journeys, and that's okay. And that's an expected part of the equation. So this time we have Lacy and Darrell. This is the third time that we checked in with them, and they've been struggling. They've been having real issues come up, issues in both of their pasts, issues that they both are struggling to get past. They are both fighting to get through so that they can have the relationship that they want. Now, if you remember from the conversation Sophie and I have had about our own story, and Sophie's not here to give her piece of this, but what both of us found was that we had work to do. Both of us had work to do. It wasn't only my work, and it wasn't only Sophie's work. Yes, I screwed up. I acted outside the marriage. I acted inappropriately, and there was a lot of work on my end. But as we dug in deep, Sophie found out there was a lot from her past, and we see the same thing in this couple. Now, I'm not going to take too long to introduce this episode because we talked for a while. I always want to give the space in these sessions so that we really get to work through the struggles, and you'll see that Darrell has a lot of things that he's struggling with, and Lacy's not really sure how to work through them with him. And this is exactly one of those situations where it can help to have an outside perspective, a professional to help guide you along the way, because there's so much weight, right? There's so much wrapped up. There are children involved. There's a marriage. There's a home. There's work. There are all these factors, all these variables involved in their story. And so doing it alone can feel like too much sometimes, and that is okay. And so I'm really, really happy to be able to bring this session to you guys. So powerful, so grateful that these couples, and Chelsea and John as well, are allowing us to be that fly on the wall, allowing you to be that fly on the wall, listen in on the conversations. Please do me a favor, and as you listen to this, as you listen to what I'm saying here, and as you listen to the actual session with the two of them here, I would love it if you screenshot and share with us the takeaways for you, the things that feel to you like they are most relevant, like they speak to your experience or the experience of people close to you. Because there's a reason why we're doing this, right? There's a reason why we're doing this publicly. Just like the reason why Sophie and I have shared our story publicly. And that is to help others who are struggling with the same thing understand that A, you're not alone, and there are a lot of other people who are in the same situation, and B, that there is a route out. And as you see these couples move up and down and through their own struggles, I really, really hope that you open yourself up either to the history and the stories that you're going through yourself or the people close to you are, so that you can find relief, you can find tools, you can find a path out into a better relationship for you and those you love. Thank you so much for joining us. Happy to be here with you guys. Right after the break, we're going to be back with Lacy and Darrell. Thank you.
This episode of the Ignited podcast is brought to you by Philosophy Superfoods. The Philosophy offers cleanses and other nutritional products that are unlike any of the other supplements and detoxification programs on the market. Why? Because they actually nourish the body with whole, live, nutrient-rich foods instead of depriving you and leaving you hungry. Have you ever tried a cleanse only to find out that you can't make it through a whole day because you're starving? Ever try a superfood shake that made you nauseous because it was so disgusting you'd rather not eat? The Philosophy fixed all that with a simple set of offerings that load up your body with nutrients while actually tasting good. Makes sense, right? Each of the Philosophy superfood and protein blends is vegan, raw, gluten-free, and has absolutely no filler ingredients. With over 15,000 satisfied customers, including some of the world's biggest celebrities like George Clooney, Gerard Butler, Lea Michele, and over 10 years of experience, this is the best stuff you can get. To buy some or find out more info, go to our website, thephilosophy.com.
All right, so welcome back.
Hi.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you took time for this. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sophie gonna be here? Or?
She's not. She's busy working. So if it's okay, I'm going to take this one myself. And also, I really wanted to kind of focus in because, look, first of all, again, I'll applaud you guys as kind of this, Lacy, you reaching out and staying on top of this is important. And I always like to remind people, when Sophie and I got started on this road, whatever it is, 9 years ago now, almost 10 years ago, there weren't a lot of resources. There weren't a lot of ways to drop down at least some of the shame involved and work through it in an active way. So it just took the passage of a lot of time and making a lot of mistakes. And that's why I wanted to jump on this quickly, or as quickly as my schedule allowed, sorry. But I wanted to jump on this quickly because hitting these things that you talked to me about, Lacy, and kind of right around the time that they come up can be really important to not let them fester, not let resentments build up. And those things can knock us back. And look, you guys are months into this process, just months, right? I mean, I
Yes.
mean, altogether, you're not even at a year, as far as I remember.
Half a year.
Yeah. So honestly, literally, the fact that you're talking about these things is already a victory compared to, I don't know, most couples that I know. Because the issues we're dealing with and we're going to talk about here today, they're not simple issues. They're like core, who am I as a human being? Who am I as a man? Who am I as a woman? Who are we together in this coupleship kind of issues? And we can talk. I can give hints and I can give tips and I can guide, but then you guys go through life and real issues come up. Yeah. And so I don't know if you want to talk, Lacy or Darrell, if you want to bring this up, can you guys help me just get up to speed?
Yeah. So I messaged you not too long ago. The last time that we spoke, I will say that at that point, I feel like things were much better than they are now. For me, at least. I felt like he was doing all the work that he needed to do. And the girl that he had the affair with messaged him again and tried to reach back out to him. And I feel like we handled that situation well, considering I tried to like be less quick to anger about that and just try to see it in a better way, like it was an opportunity for him to prove trust since he actually told me about it.
Yep.
And then we got through that, but then it's like we started having these arguments and these things come up that are just like, oh my gosh, I don't know. They're probably petty. Well, there's been a few arguments. One argument was because I feel like every time I've looked at his Instagram account, I've seen him searching for like naked accounts, like these women, like
not
models.
Not really naked.
The last one was the naked one. It was just ass everywhere. It was just a bunch of pictures of ass.
It wasn't like naked.
I mean,
right.
But yeah,
I get it.
as close to naked as it gets.
Yeah.
And like I just like would show it to him, like, what is this? And then it got to where he would respond in a way that was like, I feel suffocated. And then he was like, I'm a guy. I'm gonna look at this stuff,
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. You finish.
Well, so can we get back to like what happened when that girl messaged you? I want to understand. She messaged you. You shared it. How was it received? What was the process? How did that pan out for you guys?
Well, she kind of went about it like it was some random number messaging me. She had messaged me like a week before. I didn't say anything to Lacy about that incident. I just kind of I was like, because I didn't know who it was. They would never say who it was. I was like, who is this? They was asking if this was Darrell. Like, I guess my number memorized or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, but
what?
Anyway, she had
So it's a number you didn't recognize, and it just asked if this is Darrell.
Yeah, so like I said, that's why I never mentioned it because I just didn't really know who it was. But then when I found out, she was like, I'm not going to say who this is because I don't want any trouble, is what she was saying. So I was just, pretty much telling her, I really hate that, I put her husband through that. Nobody deserves that.
These are the messages from her to you.
Yeah. Just telling her, like, we're in a different place now. Like, I don't need...
His response to her was very appropriate.
Yeah.
From what I read, it was good. That wasn't an issue at all.
So,
but I don't know if, like, that incident, her messaging him kind of brought everything back up and then caused us to have all these petty arguments that are now just, like, just adding on. And it's just like almost, I feel like he's in a place where he's feeling like smothered and like impatient with the process of me gaining back trust. And
Would you say that feels pretty accurate, Darrell?
I mean, to a certain extent, I wouldn't say that I'm like, not trusting the process, so to speak. But it's just, at the same time, I do feel like, I feel like I was triggered. Like, it definitely wasn't about the girl messaging me. Like I told her, I showed her immediately. I don't want any dealings with this girl whatsoever anymore.
Yeah.
But it was another incident that had come up. I didn't know it yet. See, Lacy has my my Instagram password, Facebook, all that. She sees my messages, all that, and I'm totally okay with that.
Yeah.
But there was an instance where some girl tried to follow me on Instagram. Like I didn't even know about it, but she, like, I was at work that morning, and she asked,
and friend requested at the same time.
Yeah, on Facebook. Yeah. She was like, who is this? Why is she following? I'm like, okay, that. But
I knew she was working with you.
Yeah. I told her, like, she had worked there. But I said, you can go block her. You can go delete her. Like, that's how I'm like, I really don't.
But your initial response
she
was
has
angry.
no relevance. Yeah, it triggered me. Like I said, I was at work, and I was like, because I had noticed she set my account to private, like my Instagram to private.
Oh, right. That's the message you had sent me. Yeah.
Yeah. She had set it to private. I didn't notice that. I'm like, okay, I'm giving you all these, like, you have literally everything on me. I didn't feel like that was necessary.
And then you were like, I feel like we need to stop doing this, and I just want to change my password. And then you later apologized.
Yeah. Definitely, I would never do that. That would cause so many problems. But as far as, like, I was on a thing about saying, I wanted my account not to be private, and this, that, and third stuff that didn't really matter. But.
Okay, so what I'm hearing happen is you're practicing this transparency.
Yeah.
And it's all good when everything's all good.
Mm-hmm.
And then something happens.
Yeah.
And in this situation, what I'm hearing, Lacy, correct me if I'm wrong, what I'm hearing is somebody that you felt activated by, triggered by, try to friend him, not necessarily through anything Darrell did, but just the fact that this happened triggered you. Oh, here it is happening again. If I wasn't watching his Instagram, you're already imagining in your head, what's already happening in your head as you're seeing this friend request come through.
Yeah. And then I sent her a friend request and she deleted it.
Yeah.
So it was just like to me, that was like, you saw him at work and now you're trying to contact him on social media. And then it triggered me, yes.
So what played, when it triggered you, what played through in your head?
She's a young girl. She was probably possibly saw him at work and then talked to someone and was like, what's his name? And then found out his name and then searched for him and then requested him so that she could sort of get in there and just maybe, like all that.
Get in there and what?
It may not be true, but it's what played in my head.
Yeah, no, I get it. So get in there and what?
Message him. I don't know.
Or open a window.
Yeah. Open a window. Try to just see if he was into that.
Sure.
Possibly.
And again, I'm going to be explicit. Into what?
Having sex.
Yeah.
Okay.
What the other girl did, which was wanted to have sex with him.
Yeah.
And then turned around and have sex with him again.
Behind your back and knowing that it's going to hurt you and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
The reason I'm being that explicit about it is something that in your head, Lacy, at least, I'm not saying it's not reasonable, right? It is, but something that was somewhat parallel to what had happened in the past. It's just that you weren't aware of it in the past. Was happening in front of your face. And it automatically triggered this response that, oh my God, what if this whole thing happens again?
Yes.
Right.
I fear that, probably more than I even should. Every little thing honestly makes me feel that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Every little thing.
I got it.
It's definitely. Yeah. You have every right to feel that.
And I still feel not so sure that that's not happening right now.
I get it. And so part of the fear is you're literally seeing it and your brain goes to what had happened before and playing it again and going, what if this is either already happening right now or if it's about to happen?
Yes.
And this is exactly one of those moments where transparency becomes difficult. And just to be clear, what I mean by that is if you didn't know you wouldn't have had the reaction you had in the moment, but that could have made things harder down the line, right?
Definitely.
That's kind of the whole point. That could have made things harder months or however, like down the line, because you didn't know last time either. It's just that when you found out, everything fell apart.
Yes. And then continued to find little pieces out that never, and I still feel like there's not 100% transparency with everything, because, you know, even after the last conversation that we had with you guys, he was like, well, there was this girl at work that said this comment. And I was like, I wish that you would have just told me, you know, because
definitely, you know,
I'm not going to I'm not going to blame you necessarily every time. I don't want to, like Sophie had told me, I don't want to punish you. I don't want to punish you every time. I just want to feel like I'm getting everything and I'm getting all of the information so that I don't feel in the dark like I do.
Darrell, what was just going on for you as she was saying that? I saw a reaction. What's going on for you?
It's yeah, I mean, she says this. She says she wants me to be transparent, and definitely, you know, that's what we've talked about. I want to be that way, and she says I don't want to take it out on you every time. But if I was to mention something like that, it's just gonna, you know, all hell's gonna break loose.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
if you will.
No, absolutely. So here's where transparency is difficult.
Yeah.
Transparency is difficult because you being transparent doesn't necessarily create the reaction you want, Darrell.
Mm-hmm.
What happens over time is, you know, we just heard from Lacy what goes on in her head when she imagines a girl asking for your number, messaging you on Instagram, friending you on Facebook, all that kind of stuff. And for her, as it stands right now, it immediately jumps to, there's another girl I got to watch out for. All this stuff is going to end up happening, and it all plays in her head. Make sense?
Definitely.
The transparency, and again, let me be really clear, as long as things keep working out okay and that doesn't happen again, the transparency is actually there to very gradually, and I'm not saying in a pain-free way, but very gradually change Lacy's orientation from every time a girl contacts Darrell, I got to worry about what happens in some hotel room somewhere, to, oh, actually, the vast majority of the time that girls talk to Darrell, I end up not needing to worry about anything. Does that make sense? But
I know he's handling it okay.
Because I've talked about it with him many, many times, and things didn't develop into problems. But if you think about it, the only time, if I remember right, the only time that Lacy found out that some girl at work was hitting on you was when all this blew up.
Yeah. I mean, it's happened before. It happened, you know, I mean.
That you talked to her about it?
About the different girls making comments and stuff. I mean, I tell her girls make comments all the time, but most of the time it's like older females or, you know, just people, you know, just like older ladies that I wouldn't think she'd be worried about, you know, so I'll just.
Oh, okay. So in the past, before this blew up, you would talk about it.
Yeah.
But you would talk about it when it was somebody who was not threatening.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, Lacy, the first time that a woman you may have been interested in, she finds out about you had communication with, there was actually also cheating that happened along the run. Does that make sense? So it's going to take time for Lacy to recalibrate just the whole notion of you talking to women at all. I mean, period, right? Like, you could be at a toll booth and there could be a girl in the toll booth. Am I right, Lacy?
Yes.
100%, right?
Yeah.
Like, it could be a girl that Lacy, you don't even have to say that she's attractive. Lacy could think that you may find her attractive, and that alone will be triggering.
No,
it will.
Yeah.
Right. And the reason I'm saying it like that is, let's move out, for you, Darrell, let's move out of the mindset that as long as I don't do anything, and I'm going to put wrong in quotation marks, but as long as I don't do anything wrong, this should work itself out.
Mm-hmm.
because I hear that a lot from guys. Well, I haven't done anything wrong in like a year. I go, cool, not doing anything wrong doesn't change any of the interaction or the intimacy or the connection with your partner yet. It doesn't exacerbate the situation. It doesn't make it worse. But what needs to end up happening, that it is going to take time, is the rebuilding of trust. And so I don't know if you guys remember this story, but yeah, I think I talked to you guys about it the last time we talked, was, that billboard that was outside of my office that I would drive past where there was like a half naked girl on it.
No.
Okay. So I worked in an office in a treatment center, and I would drive, and there was an American Apparel. The company's gone out of business now, but remember American Apparel?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All their pictures were these raunchy, black and white, kind of low quality pictures of half naked girls. So I would drive to work, and this billboard is right when I would like get to my job to have to turn into the parking lot. It was right there. And I didn't say anything to Sophie, and one day I decided I'm going to say something to her. And I got screamed at for like an hour. What's wrong with you? Those girls are like 18 years old. You're a pervert. She just went off on me. And I remember I told her, I goes, this is why I've been scared to tell you about it, was because I didn't put the fucking billboard there. And it's not like I'm a crazy person. They did that photo shoot because it's a sexy, like sexualized image. It's not like I'm the only human being that feels like that is sexualized. That's why they did the thing.
Exactly.
But yet somehow I'm paying the price for all of that. Make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
But here's the issue. That's a conversation that probably would have been okay to have if I never cheated on Sophie and never did anything to make her not trust me. But in that moment, at that time, and this is about a year in, she still didn't trust me. So any slight inclination that there's a woman out there that I'm attracted to and that I would think about without Sophie sitting right there, or, with the potential of hiding it from Sophie, sent her immediately to the headspace that I'm a cheater. I'm always going to cheat. All her friends were right. Her parents were right. Once a cheater, always a cheater. I'm going to fuck her over at some point again. And she's an idiot for being in this situation.
Sounds accurate.
Yeah. But I wasn't thinking about cheating on Sophie when I saw that picture.
Mm-hmm.
Make sense?
Yeah. Definitely.
I was having what felt like a natural reaction in the moment.
Exactly.
But if I didn't start processing that with Sophie, then there was a part of myself that I was hiding, right?
Yeah, definitely. Then
all of a sudden, the part of me that gets turned on by pictures of half-naked girls, I'd have to hide that part again.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens when we end up hiding part of who we are? We end up hiding part of what we feel, and we feel like that's inappropriate. What happens to us?
We lose
a connection.
Yeah, we don't really truly know each other.
Yeah. We don't really know each other. And there's a part of us that, at least as it comes to the other person, we're ashamed of now, right? Like that's the part I don't talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And it might not start out as cheating, but all of a sudden we've created separation in the relationship. All of a sudden here's the part that my wife gets to know of me, and here are the parts that my wife doesn't get to know of me. And to me, that's the reason why when Sophie and I, in our relationship at least, chose the path of radical transparency, is because, for better or worse, I want my wife to know all of me.
Definitely.
And I'm not saying it didn't take her a while and it didn't take me a while to feel comfortable with it and be okay with everything that came out of our mouth. And I'm not saying that there's never a time where we talk and it's a little upsetting.
Yeah.
But
it just all comes with the radical transparency, like you said, and the growth.
And knowing that my wife actually loves me for all of me.
Nice.
And kind of like the start or the search that you had looked up the stuff on there, mm-hmm. His initial reaction is always defensive. It's just like, I'm a guy, and then that sends me into like this, and I'm like, but that's not how it works. And then it just keeps going, and then I told him, I'm like, if you would have like came home or wherever it was that you looked this up, came to me and said, I had like this urge to look this up, or I was talking about this with these guys at work, and I looked this up, and I wanted you to know that so that you didn't have to find it. I said that probably would have made me feel less shitty than just looking and being like, what the hell is this?
Right.
Like, here I am insecure and having all these issues, like, hey babe, I did look this up, but I'm still attracted to you. This came across my whatever. I clicked on it. I looked at it. I'm sorry if it hurts you. I'm still really attracted to you. Like, if you would have had that kind of conversation with me, it would have been more of like all right, I need to get myself together here. She's back up in that thing. Hold on.
Yeah. And I totally understand that,
What makes that hard? What makes it hard to have that communication?
To have the communication about like what I'm attracted to, or
what are you attracted to?
I've been doing.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's gonna get me in trouble. I don't know.
It's like you fear that reaction, but you overestimate maybe how I'll handle it every time. Sometimes maybe I won't react quite as bad if you're.
I mean, I want to eventually get to a point where I'm not having these thoughts.
Right. So, and that's the shame piece that I was talking about, right? Yeah. You do something that you feel is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So then talking to somebody else, especially somebody you love, about you doing things that are wrong, that are wrong, that's where the shame piece comes in.
Mm-hmm. He has a lot of shame.
So you want to pretend like it didn't even happen. You want to pretend like it didn't exist.
Yeah, definitely.
He does. And a little bit of like, I feel a little bit of a rush on like, let's get over it, move on, get back to our lives.
Yeah.
And it's hard for him to fathom just that, or the way that things.
I totally get it. Let me, what has conflict been like in your life up to now, Darrell?
Conflict, can you?
Yeah, like when you disagree with people, probably even earlier on in life, like when you either didn't agree with people or wanted to express a different opinion than maybe family members, mom, dad, mom, or just felt like you had to speak up in the past around topics that felt like it was gonna cause a little ruckus, a little noise, that you felt differently about this. What has that experience been like in your life in the past?
I mean, I've normally always kind of been someone to like speak how I feel, give my opinion very clearly. Like, there's really not a lot holding me back when it comes to that kind of stuff. So,
okay. So what is different about the core feelings that you have around these conversations? Like, hey, I just want to tell you I did this thing.
Like I said, I definitely don't think it's out of being like afraid of the confrontational part, like actually having the conversation. It's just the I guess the aftermath of like having the conversation with like the subject of the conversation, like how she would react to it. So I guess that's what kind of shies me away from.
Okay, so not bringing the thing up, but more about the reaction she might have when you bring it up.
Yeah.
Okay. Definitely. What's the worst case scenario?
I guess I just she lets me have it, and I just feel like this small, for a little bit. But I guess it could be worse. Like,
Okay, is that the worst case scenario? That's the worst thing that can happen if you tell her about something?
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like he's very, he's,
I don't
it's
know.
hard.
I don't know her 100% yet. I don't know if she'll smash my TV in or smash. No, just get out.
I feel like you're so defensive about a lot. Darrell is very, if he starts to feel that any guilt for anything, it's like his first thing he goes to is defense. Like, I've got to put this defense, like the shield, and then nothing can come past that. And even if I try to, approach it in like a really like gentle way, he's still just really defensive. And maybe that comes from your past in some way. But
yeah, I mean, my past, the way I grew up, the way I taught myself how to be a man, because I didn't really have that. Like you said, we talked about in a previous conversation. I really never had that guidance. So this is just like things that I've kind of put in place myself, and it's not okay. It's not right. And like I said, I want to be able to not have those thoughts, not have those feelings, but just the way I'm set up, I feel like that's automatically what I turn to.
Yeah. And again, I think that's why this can get, and I 100% identify with it, but it can get dangerous to get into this place of, I don't want to have these thoughts.
Yeah.
Because as it is right now, you do.
Yeah.
And so, and look, I might be called a douchebag again for saying these things in this context. And I've been called that before, by the way. So it gets to me a little bit too. I want you to know I understand it. But like, whether somebody else talked about it or you ran across pictures or the thought of like a naked girl that you find attractive, a naked hot girl that you find attractive comes across your mind and you search for that on Instagram or whatever, and you look at pictures, right?
Yeah.
That's, I think, part of what you were talking about before. It's just things you've done, like that since the age of 12 probably is the way you've done it, right? Like,
really never had any other, hadn't had a path in a different direction since 12, like you said.
Yeah. So that becomes a natural thing. You do it, but now it's complex because you're turned on and ashamed at the same time. Right. And I don't know, is that something that was there a while ago? Like looking at pictures like that or looking at porn, was that something that caused both shame and excitement at the same time before?
Yeah, I was definitely, I knew I always kind of had an issue with like Instagram automatically going to like, a certain page or whatever, looking at what like I thought was attractive. And I knew deep down, like, I'm married. This is not okay, but this is what I'm attracted to. This is what, I like it. So
yeah,
which do a lot of guys, but at the same time, like you say, transparency. If I could just learn, and Lacy, she knows what I'm attracted to. She knows I'm attracted to her. But if I could be more transparent, maybe we could like make some kind of light out of it, have fun with it. I don't know.
I would watch it with you. You know, I've told him that, but there were times when I would be like, "Are you watching porn?" And he was like, "Yeah." And then I was like, "Well,
yeah." No, but that's actually exactly kind of what I'm talking about, right? Is the shame comes from, I don't want to hurt my wife, or I shouldn't be doing this, right? That's the thing that pulls you in the shame direction. But at the same time, there are feelings and needs and all that other stuff that has been taught since a really young age. The transparency allows all that to come to the forefront so that then the two of you together can discover what feels good to the two of you.
Yeah.
Right.
It'd be nice.
Yeah, I think, as a guy, I don't know if you ran into this in the past, Darrell, but like, as a guy, 12 years old or whatever, discovering porn, if girls were ever around when porn was around, it would either be a joke, right? It would either be like we were kind of freaking them out by putting it on. That's friends of mine would do that. But it was never like a shared experience. It was never, hey, I'm into this. Do you want to share in this experience with me? Right. That was never really,
yeah, like girls. Yeah, sure. Definitely.
Right. It was like the thing that guys did on their own, either completely alone or like they let in the other guys. They talk to other guys about it, but like they would never let the girls in on it.
Oh, definitely not.
Right. And so that always created a separation, right? It always created this, like, girls know, I mean, I don't want to make this political, but look at the whole like Trump bus conversation thing, right? It created a separation. Here's what boys talk about when they're with other boys. Here's what boys talk about around other girls. But you can understand how that can make a woman feel trouble. Because it's like, is my man, is the guy that I'm with, actually being honest with me about the way he feels about all this? Or is he just lying to me and then having a completely different conversation with other people that he trusts more, can be more honest with, and, you know, feels less threatened by their reaction, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So the work is to bring that together. The work is even to say, literally, even if the best that it gets in the beginning is to say, hey, babe, you know, I'm really anxious even just saying this to you. It's really, really hard for me to say this to you, but I looked at some pictures today and yeah, I knew I shouldn't have, but I don't know. I got pulled to them and I went right there and I spent like 10 minutes just looking at these pictures. Even if that's as good as it gets, there's no deeper conversation around it. Mm-hmm. How do we get to release the fear that there are some pieces of you, some elements of who Darrell is that Lacy can't live with? So you have to keep those hidden, because if Lacy found out about them, I don't think the worst case scenario is she yells at you. I think the fear is that the worst case scenario is she walks out.
Yeah. There's that too. So. Which she definitely handled it very well, and she's kind of made it somewhat apparent that like that's not like her go-to. That's not what she wants to do. So
you know, I'm not going anywhere.
I mean, but at the same time, like I say, I mean, there's still that fear. I know. I mean, we'll talk about it, and we're like, you know,
or that I'll judge you in a way, or make you, or be like you're perverted, or you're.
I think that's.
Yeah.
Or I don't have. I don't know. I feel like I don't have quite all the qualities necessarily that he's looking for. I feel that way. I feel like he's not.
That's not the case.
I mean, that might not be, but that's just how I feel.
It's just, you know, there's certain ththings that I'm attracted to, and you know, I mean, on top of being attracted to you, you know, there's just these things. So
sure.
Yeah.
So that's where I think bringing it all together can be.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you guys, I mean, I've worked with couples. I mean, Sophie and I have had our own stuff, but then I've worked with other couples where at the beginning of these conversations, it seems like there's two people standing on different sides of the Mississippi, like they're a mile apart from each other and they're never going to come together. But the reason it feels that way is because each person holds on to, well, this is the way I've done it forever, and so I have to keep doing this way. And I'll just use my examples, like whether that is watching porn, you know, looking at like Playboys, whatever the thing is, whatever. I mean, I'm dating myself now. I don't think anybody looks at fucking Playboys anymore, but but you know what I'm saying? Like,
there's Instagram. You don't have
I know. Now you don't have to go anywhere. It's just on your phone all the fucking time. Which, by the way, is a real problem. But
yeah, definitely.
Like, I've always done it this way, is your version, and Lacy has the same thing. I've always done it her way, right? Lacy has the way it's always been for her. But as you two come together, the magic actually is to discover, well, how do we do it? Like, what is our world? Let's just talk bluntly about, like, what's our world of sexuality coming together? What does that look like? And what I found is that for a lot of couples, when they start having those conversations more explicitly, there's a real opportunity to actually get what you want out of sex, instead of what a lot of us deal with most of the time, which is like, let me find the place where my partner and I automatically come together, right? Because like when you first start hooking up, you do what's natural for you, and the woman does what's natural for her or your partner. And some of that matches and some of it doesn't. And you just kind of deal with it. You just kind of you move forward the way that it's always been. Yeah. You guys can feel this even as I talk about it right here. Yeah. The notion of even sitting down and saying, okay, here's what turns me on. And Lacy's saying, here's what turns me on. How do we bring this together? What are some things we want to explore together that we never tried ourselves? Like, opening that up.
Yeah.
is a completely different universe of sexuality.
Sounds exciting.
I mean, I'll tell you, I tell some of my either married, divorced, or dating friends this sometimes, right? And I'm not, just for anybody paying attention to this, if you guys are like worried that I'm describing some like sexual bliss, that's not, I feel like all relationships don't work all the time, but I'll tell you this, and I've had a pretty crazy past before, Sophie. Being able to actually explore things with my wife, because I trust her, we have intimacy, like we have a real connection that I didn't have with women in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I've had better and more exciting sexual experiences with my wife than ever in the past. And I was a meth and coke and ecstasy dealer in the 90s and early 2000s. So it was crazy back then, but the connection wasn't there.
Mm.
So let's move away from the fear that if I talk to Lacy about what's really going on in my head, then not only am I in the doghouse, but now I'm not going to be able to do what I like, to how do I bring these two things together? And then Lacy has no reason to put me in the doghouse because we're having all these as shared experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And then you mentioned too about like, you were like, sometimes I'll watch porn or something whenever I'm with you, but then it's just to like get me amped up for us. Like, because it helps me, it makes me want you more and things like that. And I was like, well, I mean, I guess that's fine with me if you can tell me, you know, instead of just withholding.
And it's definitely not because like I'm not already horny and already wanting to have sex. It's just like,
yeah, I get that.
That just intensifies it for me. So
Sure.
So I already plan on doing it. We're already gonna, have sex. It's just like that right there. Like, it just makes the experience better. I feel like. I don't know.
But then I at the same time, I get into my little, I'm like, I'm going to look at his phone and then I'll find something. And I'll be like, why do I have to find this? Were you talking about this with other people? Like, when did you look this up? Were you doing it on your own? Like, and then all this stuff plays in my head.
Sure. And it makes sense based on what's happened to you guys.
Yeah.
And what I want to try to make sure doesn't happen is that we don't walk to opposite corners and say, well, okay, then I won't have Instagram and I'll be locked out of everything and I won't have any communication with anybody ever. And now there's resentment that builds up and there's negative feelings. And then the thing where you're just kind of walking on eggshells, like you're both in the same room in the same house, but nobody's really talking to somebody else, and you don't really have communication at all because it's better to not get into a fight. It's the kind of self-perpetuating cycle that we can end up being trapped in.
Right. Silent treatments all the time.
Yeah.
Definitely don't want that.
There's not. I want to tell you guys, there is not I don't think there's a normal, there's not a normal pattern of relationship and sexuality that I've seen. There are couples that haven't worked it out, and there's couples that have worked it out.
I definitely think we already have like a really, I feel like,
we have a great base.
Yeah.
For working everything out. We've done really well. It's just these petty little, I want you to understand how I feel.
Yeah. So Darrell, let me ask you a question. Let's say it's 3 days from now, 4 days from now, a week from now, 3 months from now, whatever.
Mm-hmm. And
Lacy looks through your phone and she finds that you were looking at one of those accounts. I want you to walk me through the process of what happens to you. How do you feel? What thoughts happen to you and how do you react?
First off, I would be like, I would get like a butterflies in my gut. I'm like, oh God, here we go.
Yeah.
Stalk me. And then, automatically soon following, it'd be like somewhat of a defense mode, like, trying to make up why that could possibly be on there, or like, could have been looking at this and then actually was looking at that, just some kind of excuse to try to butter it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So, and then
and then we would get into a fight.
Yeah, just kind of
you would
dealing
be
with
like,
the consequences.
I'm a guy. Oh, guys do this.
Okay.
And I'm like, but not us, because I'm in a different place than a
And
lot
I
of
know
people.
all guys don't do it. I mean, most guys, because most guys don't have, adequate capacity, like,
Yeah.
like you're trying to coach people through. And I'm definitely one of those people. I'm a statistic right now still. So
So here's the beauty, right? Just the way you just described it to me right now would be a perfect way to talk to Lacy about it when it comes up. Like, hey, babe, I just want to tell you, I got butterflies in my stomach right now because we're talking about this. I'm feeling really uncomfortable.
mm-hmm.
I did. I looked at it. I got a million excuses in my head if you want to hear them. I can write the list out, or like I can just tell them to you right now if you want them. But I just want you to know that's what's happening in my head right now. Like, don't even change the reaction. Just be honest about it.
Yeah. Sounds like a pretty awesome approach, actually.
It does.
If, I mean, like I say, if
You just have to get yourself into that headspace whenever this actually happens.
It's shaming for like a half a second, because as soon as the words leave your mouth, as long, Lacy, as the response improves over time, then there's the butterflies stay in your stomach. It's not like they leave right away.
Definitely do.
But next thing you know, the fights last half as long. And then they last half as long as that. And then all of a sudden you hear your wife say something that you never thought of before, like, damn, that girl's actually pretty hot. And you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Because the threat has disappeared, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That definitely sounds something
like when the girl messaged you.
like, yeah.
When the girl messaged him, because he came to me and was like, look, and he messaged me and then showed me the whole conversation, that took like a weight off of me. I'm like, okay, so if she messages him again for sex, which is what it was. She links that to feelings, but it was just, a lot of sex. But I was like, well, now I know how he'll respond to her.
Right.
That makes me feel better. That makes me feel like, okay, he doesn't want to ever do that, or he doesn't want to do that. It was just nice. It was actually nice. And then, I reacted to that in ways I shouldn't have, and I did talk to her. But
you did talk to her? You texted her?
I did. I messaged her back. And I said a lot of choice words, but I also told her thank you. I was like, because you honestly, like, me and my husband just had sex and it was amazing. Because we had this great connection, because you showed me that I can trust him now. And I told her that, and then she was like, oh, well, that probably.
That's funny.
I did that, but.
I love it. Well, that shows me you got some fire, so.
Oh, yeah. You got
There's a lot of that.
So here's the beauty, right? And from the other side, Lacy, same thing, right? Hey, I'm glad you showed this to me, because I'd much prefer that you show it to me than not. And I understand you have butterflies in your stomach. I kind of feel like maybe you should, because blah, blah, blah. Like, just process the thoughts with him as they're happening.
Right. Okay.
It makes me, you didn't give me specific examples, but like, when I'm looking at these pictures, I just want to tell you, here's what's going on in my head. I feel less than. I don't have that. Like, that scares me. To have the honest conversation. Make sense?
Yeah.
And like that assurance, that's attractive, but that makes me feel better for you to say something like, that's attractive, but I'm attracted to you and I want you right now. I don't know. That would direct my mind in a different direction than being like, well, he's looking at all this stuff behind my back because this is what he wants and he doesn't want me. And then it just continues with the insecurity thoughts and all the stuff that I have. And I'm like, kind of just crying out, like, please just understand it's tough being a girl that is insecure. And I'm working on that. But, like, at the same time, I need support because, I mean, I've been cheated on a lot. I've cheated too. Cheated back. I've never had like a consistent relationship with another person. But and that it was all like revenge cheating that I did. But
which is the same thing. Well, and that's the same thing, right? It's the idea of, oh, you think I'm not enough? Let me show you I'm enough. Because because just somebody else thinks I'm enough.
Yeah.
When that's not really what we want anyway.
Nah.
Yeah.
Definitely not what I want.
And he feared like talking to you again too. He was like, I don't know because I feel like you're gonna corner me. And I'm like, I promise you I'm not gonna corner you. That's not my intention.
Yeah.
I
didn't really know how the emails went.
I think he thought you and Sophie were gonna be like, you're a piece of shit. Like, you're the worst.
No, that never happens, man. There's no point to that.
Oh.
Look, my core belief is this. By the time somebody's talking to me about it, they feel so shitty about it themselves. There's zero reason for me to add any more shame or negativity to that conversation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I also believe that 99% of the people I talk to are trying to do their damn best.
Yeah.
And so if you're trying to do your best, the only guidance I can give is not in what was wrong with your best, but rather, okay, how can we do this a little bit better next time?
Yeah. Yeah, and I should know that's how you guys are set up anyway from previous experiences. I just, like I say, I knew I had kind of handled the situation wrong, quote unquote. But,
sure.
In the beginning.
Yeah, in the beginning. But, I mean, I kind of came to light. But like I said, I just didn't. I just knew I felt like I was going to get a harping, in other words.
I get it.
The girl approached him at work, and he told me the last time we got off the thing with you guys. He was like, well, yeah, there was this girl at work, and she like told me that she could see my dick through my pants. And I was like, why did you not tell me until now?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. He just, I handled it good. I didn't flip out on you. I was just like, well, I wish you would tell me when they say things like that. I was like, what was your response? And you had a great response. So just tell me about it because it makes me feel safer for you to tell me that you have these things happen to you.
Well, I mean, that would definitely be something. That'd be even harder than saying, hey, you know, I looked at ass on Instagram or whatever. So, but yeah, get to that point, like you said. I feel like we can get there.
And then I want you to tell him too about the whole like argument that we have about the job situation with me.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to just tell him about that because I feel like you need to talk about it.
Job situation.
I feel like we need to like let
bring
that
everything to the table right now.
Yes, we need to let that come to the table. I don't know how much more time we have left. But.
I got like 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay, well then we can fit it in there. Just just tell him like we've been arguing a lot.
I want you to give your outlook on it. I don't really know where you stand on it.
Okay. Well, we've had this argument for the whole time we've been together, but lately it's come up really bad because I don't know if it's like the affair situation and all that. It's just caused resentment. I don't know. He's always been the type of person who has worked for everything he's gotten. And never had to ask anybody for anything. It's always done it himself.
Yeah.
And I had like the support from family as a kid growing up. I had a really great family member who helped me with my car, my phone, just everything.
She had like 6 cars by the time she was 20.
She spoiled me. If that's how
new car.
That's how he likes to put it.
Okay.
Yeah, but I get it. You know, I mean, I definitely don't hate, so to speak, on people who, you know, are a little more fortunate than those. You know, I just, you know, I was taught a little bit different. I was taught that I had to work for what I was.
Yeah. So this is the nice version of the conversation. Where's the conflict?
The
The conflict is after we got together, and we had a child, which was Rowan. It became like an issue of like, because I failed out of nursing school. I went to school a few times. None of the schooling has worked for me. It's not been something that's just worked. And then it became like when are you going to work full time? You know, because I'm working full time. I want you to meet that with me and us do kind of like 50-50, 100, whatever. And we were never really fully in a situation where we had a great babysitter, we had great child care where I could do that.
Yeah.
Then we turned around and had another child, and then we had 2 more previous children before we got married from my first marriage. So here we are with 4 kids, and my first response is always, "What are we going to do with the kids? Like, are we going to go put them in through child care because that's going to cost this? What about the older kids? Who's going to take them to school or back?" And I'll just bring that up to him every time he brings up the issue of like, you need to work.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right. And then he takes that as, you're not ever going to work. You're not ever.
I think we come to a conclusion about it here recently. Or we came to an agreement. So I was like, yeah, I'll work weekends. I work 3 days a week. I said, you know, most places are going to hire you. You're going to work during the week. You'll be off on the weekends. You'll work Monday through Friday. I mean, I'll be able to watch the kids during the week. You'll watch them on the weekends, and then the day that we both have to work, you know, that'll be the day that we have to figure out the chapter. So, Are you saying you agree with that? Or?
Yes,
okay,
but see, you're already like, honestly, in your head, you're like,
no, I didn't know what you were.
I feel like it's not going to happen. He fears that I'm not going to work full time and contribute as much as.
Hey, Darrell.
Yeah.
What does this mean at the core level, deep inside? What is this conversation about for you?
Yeah, I guess it ultimately boils down to just not necessarily like, I mean, I know there's certain things that are not important. There's a lot of things that like material stuff that's not important. I mean, we have it pretty well, I believe, but I feel like we can have it better. Like, essentially, I just don't want to.
You don't want to be in a position right now.
Like right now, like paycheck to paycheck.
Okay. So you want your family to have more money.
Or I just want my family to never have to worry about, like, whether the rent's going to be paid or light's going to be paid, like, these credit cards are going to be paid, you know, just things like that. Okay.
So, and the reason I'm asking this, and we will definitely continue this next time, but I want to get to a little bit of this right away.
All right.
Like if you guys all of a sudden won $5 million and that was not an issue, would you not care if Lacy never works?
Yeah, I would still want her to be an entrepreneur, but I would like her to do, and which I still do. I would want her to do what she enjoys doing, what she's good at. Like, she's certified in makeup, but like just the start off process, we've been through so many transitions and trying to like, okay, you're not one that you failed out of nursing school, so let's go to hair school, get your hair school, or your hair license or whatever. I don't like that, and it's like, you know, we're just kind of flip flopping around. It's like, you know, we need to be more consistent. So back to your question, yeah, had we won the lottery or $5 million, I would want her to do something she enjoys, but at the same time, you know, be kind of building a legacy.
I feel like and then two, the insecurity comes from me because the person he cheated with worked with him and made the same amount of money and talked to him about how she would divide her money with him and help, you know, and just things like that. So
okay. Sure. So it's not only about the comforts in the family. There's a built-in standard, it sounds like, from growing up about, and your mom, right? You were raised by, you were raised by your grandmother.
Grandmother, yeah.
Who worked 2 jobs to take care of you.
To support you, because your mom didn't, right?
Yeah.
So as part of this, a little bit about, I know what women who don't work, I know it, like, I'm wondering if there's an image in your head of what it means for her to work or not to work that relates back to how you grew up and the standards of what a woman should do?
Yeah. I definitely think, times have definitely changed. I don't expect, like, especially not 2 jobs, something drastic like that. But I mean, I feel like 2 jobs.
No, you expect me to contribute. That's just what you do.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean,
That kind of makes, to him,
up,
it kind of makes a woman. I feel like he's put women up here that do that, and then I feel like I'm down here because I don't do that. But I'm.
Oh, no, definitely. Like I tell her all the time, I mean,
it's okay.
No, for sure. No, I tell her all the time, like, I think she does for the kids. Like, I would never be able to do that. Like, she does everything she's supposed to do for the children. But I mean, before we started having children, we kind of had an agreement, like, hey, whenever the babies are done breastfeeding, we're both going to try to do something, to support the family. I mean, that's kind of what I've held on to the whole time.
Totally. So this is really interesting. This is like the other side of what it means to be a man that we talked about a few times ago. It's about what it means. It's about what it means to be a woman, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of this goes back a ways back to just your own personal experiences, what you saw happening in your life and the people around you, what it means to be a responsible, upstanding woman, all that stuff. So the thing is, this stuff isn't easy to resolve. These ingrained visions of what the world should look like are not easy to resolve because, I mean, I can understand why there's the weight for you, Darrell, from the past that you've lived of really kind of like, these are the responsible, strong women I grew up around. And then I had an example of what it looked like if a woman didn't do those things.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe what could help is to get to even maybe one layer beneath that. And that is the characteristics and the values that make a woman strong and make a woman responsible and make a woman a good mother in your eyes, Darrell. And for you two to figure out what is this process? Because it doesn't seem, Lacy, like you're ending your process, but maybe the process has taken longer than you both wanted to. And so along the way, it's causing friction.
Mm-hmm. I'm so like, I've breastfed Isla, I still am. And like, I had told him, I was like, after, about 6 months, then I'll get something figured out. And then it never happened. We'd have a conversation and then he'd be like, well, just don't worry about it. Cause I guess maybe.
Yeah. Most of it, like in the past, was more out of just like frustration. Like I say, me having to handle the bills, me knowing something was going to come up short. And just like triggering all of those insecurities. But now it's more like, okay, we got this figured out. Like we can actually do this. So
yeah. So I also just want you to connect, Darrell, and maybe this will be our last thing. I just want you to connect again to what are those, like the fact that my grandmother did these things, what kind of characteristics did it mean she had that I learned to appreciate? Because the tasks, the things she did meant she was a certain type of woman. She was a certain type of person. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if you can start figuring out for yourself what that meant. Like I'll put a word in place for one of these things, but like she was dedicated, she was committed, whatever.
Just like a very strong, driven, I guess, responsible. I mean, she didn't necessarily always want to do things, but I mean, she was put in a position to raise a set of kids twice. So, because, her child didn't, raise us. So, I mean, she was just put in that situation, but she handled it,
Yeah. So I want you to, so once you write those things out, then those can be a real starting point for a conversation with Lacy, because then it's like, hey, this is the way I view these characteristics. This is what I learned they mean. And it's the automatic, that's how I value a woman, right? That's how I know if a woman is, and I'm putting this in air quotes, like a good woman. That's some of the things you had indoctrinated. Now, That doesn't mean you have to go with those standards for the rest of your life. We can change some of these things, but we have to first be explicit about what they are if we have a chance of changing them. Because I want to give you the opposite. And man, we can talk about this for another hour. But but if you think about it, there are families that have the exact opposite view, right? Where the woman never worked and took care of the kids at home, and only the husband worked. And like the woman was not allowed to work. Women's role was not in the workforce. So I just want you to understand, so much of it is a matter of perspective and your past experience. And so I want you to just get really clear on what is that experience for you.
Yeah. And I know you got to go, but I mean, I feel like she was saying before, she's definitely on board. It's just a matter of
prioritizing the children.
Exactly. And I respect that 100%. I want to make sure the children or the kids are 100% taken care of before we.
Yeah. Not just thrown off.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I threw out the whole. You work this during the week. I work the weekend, so the kids will be with us like 95% of the time. But
yeah. I just wanted to get to that because it's such a sensitive subject for you. And then I'm insecure about it because
I'm glad you brought it up, and I'm glad you talked about it with us for a second.
Absolutely. Hey, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Yeah, absolutely. And I can't wait to talk again soon. Keep me updated, okay, guys?
I will. You know I will.
All right. Have a good one, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the Ignited podcast. We were so happy to have you along for this ride. Please go and subscribe to this. Leave us a review. We love hearing from you. And if you want more, don't forget to go to ignited.com, where all the podcast episodes are available with show notes and so many of the little details and links from each one of these interviews. And you can look at all the future events that we have going on, all the things that make Ignited so special, even beyond this recording. Again, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next week.